Hello everybody and welcome back to the Morehammer podcast, your weekly podcast where we talk all things Warhammer and wargaming. As every week, I am one of your hosts, Wargaming Luke, but it is just Simon, aka Hobby Waffle, helping me hold it down this week. How are you doing, bud?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Flying solo. We've not got the Benergy tonight, have we?
No Benergy. He is sadly he's too busy tonight. He can't join us, but I'm sure he'll be back with us next week. But it worked out fairly well, Si, because I mean we are chatting a lot of on obviously Space Marine 2 is out was out early access last week, and as of recording this on Monday night, Space Marine 2 is now out for everybody, the standard edition. So we'll have a little bit of chat about that, and we thought because it was me and Sion and Ben's not so much into the video game side of the hobby, we thought we'd do our favourite picks for Warhammer video games of all time. So that'll be fun to do later on. And of course we've got the usual kind of news, Warhammer news scattered around as well. But I mean, what a week. Space Marine 2, finally got it, and I can't play it. It's the first game I've had in a long time that I can't run on my PC.
Shocking.
I know, I'm so excited. I mean, we're literally doing a countdown on the podcast every week. And then it finally comes and I can't play it. But I am also representing Lincoln Park. They have reunited. Non-Warhammer news, they have reunited last week. They've come back together, so there was a little bit of light in my life last week other than that.
Every day's a school day, I didn't know that.
Couldn't play that, but yes.
You know,
so,
I'm going to be totally honest with you, I didn't even know they weren't together.
Oh, there you go. But they are, so represent. So yeah, at least there was that anyway, but yeah. If it's your first time watching, guys, make sure that you are, of course, if you're watching us on YouTube, subscribe to us here, throwing a like on the videos and leaving us some comments down below. We'll be back to community questions next week, so leave us some fun topics down below that you want us to bring up in the show next week. And also, if you're listening to us on Spotify, follow us over there. If you want to be listening to us rather than kind of, having the screen up on YouTube, you want to have a cheeky listen at work or something, or whilst the wife or the husband is in your ear on the other side, you can have us in the other ear listening to the podcast. So there you go. But otherwise, guys, I think we're going to go into hobby updates this week, actually. We do it every other week now. I don't know if you wanted to go first, Si, because obviously I haven't managed to play any of Space Marine 2 as well, but we can sort of ravel that into hobby updates, because I know you've played a little bit.
Well,
so
funnily enough,
what you've been up to.
the lack of hobby updates for me is partially due to video game stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not just Space Marine 2. I did do a little bit more of the Trezor sentry guns, so I built the other two guns and the other ammunition crate. And then in that unboxing video for my Trezor guns, I said that I couldn't do an unboxing for the Yell, Jakara, and Malkador Spirers because I'd received the wrong Spyro box. I can't remember if I mentioned this on the last podcast, but it wasn't the fact that they'd sent the wrong box. It was me in my excitement during the pre-order on the Saturday morning. I just jumped on Element Games, went straight on there. I was like, must have Book of Desolation, Spirers, add to basket. Turns out I'd added another box of Horus Spirers like an idiot, and not the Malkadon, Yelled, and what the other one, Spire Hunters are. So anyway, Element Games gave him a ring the other day and I said, can I nip down because I'm an idiot? And he just laughed his head off and said, yeah, it's absolutely fine, you can come and swap it. So went in and I got the right ones this time.
Oh, cool.
Swapped the Horus Spirers and got the correct ones, and then I also bought a few more paints while I was there. Other retailers are available, by the way, just let you know. But yeah, Element have always been really good when you've got a problem. So that was that. I haven't managed to build those yet. I'm going to do an unboxing for those. I did build a couple of Shatterpoint minis that was been sat around in the box for ages that I meant to do. But other than that, I've been playing a bit of Space Marine 2, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the reason I've not done any other hobby updates is because I've been playing Star Wars Outlaws. Oh, yeah. I can't get enough of it. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Really, really good game. And then there's part of that game is Sabak, the card game that you can play in like the cantinas and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
That is just a little mini game on its own that you can just sit and play. It's really good.
I love it when you find like mini games within big like AAA games that you just get addicted to. It's great.
Yeah, like last night I thought I can't be bothered doing any quests or missions or anything like that. I'll just go to the cantina and play Sabak. So I did that for like 45 minutes.
That's awesome.
It's really good. Other than that, the only other hobby update I've got, I shared it on my Instagram. I got the paint rack for Wave 3 for Duncan Rhodes' two thin coats paints. So that's assembled and on the desk behind the webcam now, and the Wave 3 paints should be coming quite soon. I know they're going to ship out in September, but I'm speaking to Transatlantis Games, see if I can get some review paints to look at. So
cool.
watch this space on that one. Other than that,
is Wave 3 the one with the new like metallics and things in it?
there's new coloured metallics, yeah, and
Yeah.
then there's some like military yellows. There's some different blues and turquoises. Basically, where there's gaps in the range, they've tried to try and fill that. And then there's a couple of new varnishes as well. There was going to be a matte and a gloss varnish, but one of the varnishes hasn't quite lived up to their expectations. So what they've done is they put the satin varnish in there, which they were going to hold back for a future wave, but we'll be getting that instead.
Nice. And then, so feel free to give thoughts, I suppose. Obviously, like Space Marine 2, early access was Thursday, 5 p.m. for the UK, I think it was.
I think it was. Yeah, was it Thursday or Wednesday? I can't quite remember.
Something. Oh yeah, it could have been actually. I know it was like evening kind of dinner time for us.
It was evening, yeah.
Yeah. And as of release and reviews and things going around, very good, strong reviews for the game. Everything I've heard around it, I haven't really heard anybody say they dislike it. I've heard a lot of people say the difficulty levels compared to the first one, which you'll touch on, Si. It's quite hard to get to grips with, but
I died during the intro mission, so and that was it.
I've heard a lot of people say that though.
When you first load up the game, you choose your difficulty settings for the game when you're creating a new game, and then there's an intro bit that's quite lengthy before the actual title comes up, and I died twice during that, and very nearly died a third time, and that was just on normal, and that's when it's giving you all the button presses on how to parry and stuff like that. But I've got to say, the community feedback's been really good. A lot of people have been quite positive about it. It looks as good as it did in the trailers, and normally for a AAA game like, oh no, sorry, it's not a AAA game, but for a big game, you get these sort of super duper trailers, and the graphical fidelity is like dialed up to the nines. But when the game comes out, it's not quite as good. Well, so far from what I've seen, it looks just as good as it did in the trailers. I mean, I've got it on PS5, but it looks stunning. The intro section, spoiler warning, if you've not played it, you might want to skip ahead for this bit. So 5, 4. The intro section, being inside a Deathwatch Corvus Blackstar and seeing the inside of it and seeing it in action and stuff like that, and seeing the Deathwatch kicking some Tyranid butt was pretty damn awesome. Apart from when I was dying, it was pretty cool.
I have seen little bits of it. Yeah, looks very
cool. And so I'm only I'm still on the first planet, about halfway through the second mission. Cool. Or is it the first mission? I can't remember. But anyway, yeah, it's really good. It's difficult.
I might have to bump with like the parrying and that. Apparently,
getting the timing right. I mean, if you time the parry right, you can do stuff like a gunshot where you'll parry and then he just like executes with a pistol shot with a heavy bolt pistol, or you can parry it and do like an insta kill.
Like the one from the first game.
Bugs. That's really good. It's just getting the timing right, and I'm not quite as good at that. But I've not seen any slowdown when there's like millions of enemies on the screen. You know, I've not seen the frame rate drop and things like that. It looks really good. So first impressions.
Go on, sorry.
First impressions. I'm getting my butt kicked a lot, but it's really good.
Awesome. Yeah, the biggest compliments I've heard about the game are that obviously you've got all of these Tyranid swarms on screen and the high graphic fidelity and everything, and it just doesn't really twitch at all. Like, it deals with it really well. Which is pretty unbelievable. Because it's apparent I had never played it, but apparently it's by the same people who made is it World War Z, I want to say?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And there obviously you've got the swarms and things in that as well as zombies. So it makes sense that they've employed them to kind of take on the Tyranids in the engine.
My eyes, I'm not a tech expert with my eyes, obviously, and I'm saying I'm not seeing any frame rate drop. There could well be drops in frame rate, but it's not noticeable. There's no noticeable stutter or anything like that. Yeah, you know, sometimes when you do play games and there's a lot going on and you get pop up and stuff like that, it looks pretty smooth from what I can see. So it'd be interesting to see what I can't remember what they're called now that do the comparisons on YouTube.
I forget I know what you mean, though. Yeah,
I can't remember the name of the channel, but they do like Xbox One, PS4, and whatever, and then they'll do like Xbox Series X, PS5, and PC, and they put the comparisons. You can see the frame rate graph as it's going along. I just can't remember what the
Have you had a go yet at all with like the co-op or the online versus like mode yet?
Well, no, when I went into the co-op section, it said, "Be warned, if you play this, you will see some spoilers for the campaign."
Right. Okay.
So I
Yeah.
backed out of that for now. I've been in to multiplayer, but I've only had a dabble. I've
Very
not got
little
into it
bits.
seriously yet. So I'm
Yeah.
not at the point yet where I can customize my own marine. That's what I'll be doing over the next couple of days, hopefully.
Cool. I mean, maybe by next week we'll have had a bit more of a chance to play and whatnot. I might have even had some game time by then and have solved my PC issues. But we'll have to wait and see. But good to hear kind of first thoughts on the game. I'm certainly pumped about it, and it's all over social media at the moment. It's been viral for like the last half a week, really, on the socials and everything. So
And these crazy people
very
playing it on
exciting.
hard difficulty and saying they've completed it. I don't know how they've done it. Fair play.
Also, I must say, going back to previous conversations we've had about all of these different things getting more people into the hobby, I've already had two of my own friends who have played the game, who either played Warhammer when they were much younger or have never played and have reached out to me because they know I'm a big Warhammer nerd. They've reached out and said, "How do I get into it? Is this the right thing to buy into it?"
Yeah.
And they've already come into it. So it's gonna bring a lot of people into the hobby. That game, it's crazy. But yeah, thanks for your updates, Si. I obviously, like I say, guys, I've not managed to play any Space Marine 2 yet. However, I did, because I was so depressed that I couldn't load it up properly. I thought I still need to scratch the itch and play some sort of Warhammer game. And I had Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader that came out over, I think, November or December last year. Which is for anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of like a top-down RPG type, similar to like Baldur's Gate type thing, RPG, turn-based type thing, and I played a decent bit of it over Christmas period, but there were a lot of issues with it. It still needed work, and so I'd left it until more recently to play more of it when they patched it up a bit. And since I played it again and pretty much completed the game, it's awesome game. We'll come later on. Little spoiler there as to what might be in one of my top 5, but really enjoying that game, and I'm back on to playing it again now because they've released more stuff for it. But that's the gaming life right now. But I haven't had any games of actual Warhammer, but I have been doing a little bit of hobbying. I managed to get some of my picks up, so finally built my mini Bloodbowl team, my Snotling side,
Yay.
ready for our hopefully whenever we get to do our little mini league. And they're awesome, actually. I wasn't expecting to like them as much as I did. So, and the pump wagons are the hardest models I've built all year, but they're such great little minis. Really entertaining little things. Some great details. I'm looking forward to trying them out this coming Thursday night. I'm getting my first game of Blood Bowl in with them, so to give them a run out. So we'll see how that goes. I'll be able to report on that in a couple of weeks' time when we have the next hobby updates.
Many of them will die, but it'll be
Many
good.
will die, sadly. I mean, my
They'll get
opponent has agreed.
They'll get knocked down anyway, and it'll
Yeah.
be good.
My opponent has agreed to play halflings, so at least we'll be kind of,
Oh,
a bit
right, that's
more.
not too bad then.
Yeah, at least I won't get trounced on my first
I
game.
thought you was going in at the deep end then, trial by fire.
Oh, no. From what I've heard, that's suicide, so yeah. But yeah, so that's my Blood Bowl going on. Obviously, I'm still working through the Skaven at the moment. Built all the endless spells for them because it took me ages to get them through the post because they've been out of print for ages because everybody's obviously trying to get hold of them for Skaven. And now that endless spells are such a big deal in the new edition for Sigmar, everybody's buying all the endless spells. So they've been really difficult to get hold of. But again, really nice minis. Looking forward to painting those up. And then the one thing I think since our last hobby updates that I've actually painted up is the Doom Wheel, which is
cool.
such a cool model to paint. Looking
So is
forward
that the new
to
one?
throwing it on the table again. No, well, this the newest edition of the Doom Wheel.
I was going to say,
It didn't get a new,
a new Doom
was
Wheel,
it
is it? It's the Flayers that we've got new ones.
Flayers. That's Doom
Yeah.
Flayers. Yeah, they've got updated minis. Even though, to be honest, I thought the old ones were fairly similar.
Yeah,
anyway,
they're all right. I mean, to be fair,
yeah.
with this one, the Doom Wheel, there's not really anything wrong with that. It's pretty cool.
No, Doom Wheel's awesome. It's one of my favourite minis in the game still.
It's not that old either, so yeah.
And one of the most fun I've played with in game as well. They're just hilarious, just completely random.
But the whole concept of it is bonkers anyway, isn't it? So it's
yeah, exactly. But Yeah, so that's kind of my Skaven updates. Really enjoyed still going through those. Like I say, I'll be taking a break from it with a bit of Blood Bowl now as well. So and then I've kind of going to be planning out the end of the year for what my next project will be, but got to get bits from this done yet. But I think that'll be it for hobby updates, guys. Hopefully, like I say, next week or week after, we'll both be able to give you more updates on Space Marine 2. But I think, Si, and you'll have to do it for this week. What is it time for?
And now the news.
Brilliant stuff. By the way,
Can't do it as good as Ben, but it was
I've got to do your role and do
a decent substitute.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. So we've got a little bit of news this week, and we've got a decent bit of kill team to touch on, and then, like I say, we'll end the show this week with, since it's only me and Si, we'll do our top video games, Warhammer video games. But first up, that I thought we'd have a little look at, it's actually something that was revealed today, is new second option as a team star player for the new Chaos Dwarves.
Yeah, we've got a stabby Hobgrot.
Yeah, Rashnak Backstabber.
Yeah, it's a great name, isn't it?
Yeah, and he basically looks like Zorro Hobgrot.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking this earlier actually, because if you look at the guy there, he's got the red sort of hood on his head.
Yeah,
he's got white socks and what have you. But if you scroll down to the artwork, there's like a cartoony picture which I really like, by the way. He's got a red mask on. Sorry, a black mask. And I just think he looks way better with the black there because it contrasts nicely with the red of his clothing.
Jacket.
He's got black socks there as well. I mean, socks is not too much of an issue, but I do think that black mask looks much better. And I think if I get that, I'll be painting it black as well because it will contrast nicely with the skin. But I love this cartoon style artwork for the Bloodbowl. It's brilliant.
For anybody who's ever played Malifaux, the Bayou goblins from that, this guy really screams goblins from Malifaux. Very, very similar style. Pretty cool. So that
his law was quite funny as well because they were saying like they employed him to get people in the forges who were corrupt, to sort them out. But he ended up like loads of them kept disappearing because he's been stabbing them all. And then he's got a real toxin connoisseur. So when he breaks an opposition player's armor as a result of a stab special action, you can apply an additional +1 modifier to the injury roll, basically, because he's using poison blades. So not bad, and he's only 130,000 gold pieces as well.
It's a bit of a sneaky assassin in a way.
Forge World resin as per the usual. But yeah, that's no surprise, is it?
So I imagine you can probably play a pure Hobgrot team, and then play.
If you had the miniatures, I don't see why not. We'd have to see what the rules are like in Spike magazine, but I'm sure you probably could.
I imagine that's kind of the idea behind this, maybe, is that you could.
Well, I wonder if you did play a pure Hobgrot team with this guy as a star player, or because it's pure Hobgrots and you'd have plenty of gold pieces, you can have like all Hobgoblins and then Thark the Unstoppable in there, and maybe even another Bull Centaur if you could afford it. That'd be pretty good.
That'd be pretty awesome. So yeah, it's pretty nice though that they've already got 2 star players to choose from that are related to the team.
Interestingly, that's 2 Blood Bowl star players on a Monday in a row. We've not had any other new miniature reveals, have we?
That's true, actually.
So they were saying about the roadmap, but there's nothing else coming. Maybe there isn't.
It's very true.
Until Christmas. Maybe we'll see kill team rules and things, but yeah, it's been a bit light on the ground, hasn't it?
Yeah.
If we get another Blood Bowl thing next week, we're in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, one thing we will say is, because I don't think we touched on it last week, obviously we were reacting to the whole, not much for the rest of this year and the awful roadmaps. One thing we didn't actually touch on is that at the end of the whole preview, they touched on every other Warhammer-based game that they do and what's coming, and it was... We could have criticised them for that as well, because they literally reeled off. They were just like, Kill Team, we've just had this. There's a new season coming, a new edition coming. And then it was like, they went through everything and pretty much just said there's something new coming in 2025.
Yeah, Middle-earth strategy battle game. Things will come.
Yeah. And then, but a lot of people were saying Warcry, they didn't actually, they just said, oh, we've just had the Gnarlwood, whatever it was called, for Warcry. And then they didn't say anything's coming in 2025. So everybody was sort of going crazy saying, oh, does that mean Warcry's ending?
Previously, they'd said in an earlier interview that Warcry they were carrying on supporting.
Right,
so
okay.
I think Warcry might be safe for now, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could be wrong. Warcry fans can let me know. I think next year it's due a new edition. So something's going to happen
Possibly,
with it
yeah.
next year. But yes, but talking of Kill Team, one of the main things we want to chat about today, a lot of the stuff that's been popping around in the last sort of week or so is Kill Team related. So without a doubt, we wanted to chat some of that this week. But one of the big things that they kind of revealed, which also affects the other Warhammer games, I would say, for future reference to this, is how they're going to handle, what's the right word, expiring old kill teams, if you like.
Yeah,
and
stuff
sort
going
of
out of the
cycle
product
it.
range. This was quite interesting because, so obviously the new edition of Kill Team, they've said from the start that it's going to have updated and balanced rules, and they're all going to be online. And new teams that are going to come out are going to have online rules as well, which is really good. You know, fair play. And they said there's going to be updated and balanced rules for 33 kill teams at the launch of this new edition. The rules will be updated for 2 editions, it said, with quarterly
which is 6
updates.
years, roughly.
Pardon?
Which is roughly 6 years.
Yeah. So they're saying with quarterly updates. So they're saying teams should remain in the product range for 4 full seasons. Now, they've said a season is usually 12 months, but it can be longer or shorter depending.
Yeah.
I would imagine it probably won't be longer than 12 months, but quite often it will be shorter. So what they've said, although these teams are going to remain in the edition for 2 full seasons, 14 of those 33 teams are leaving the product range after year 1.
Yes.
Is what they were saying. So they'll still exist as 40k kits. I imagine they'll probably just get reboxed.
So they have actually so the other thing that they've said is basically they're now listing tournament legal teams as classified kill teams, is what they're naming them.
Yeah.
And they've actually given us a graphic down here as well as to, so what they're saying is year 1, these are the kill teams that are classified, so you can technically take these to like match play proper tournaments. Like Si said, they are going to keep teams updated for 6 years, but what they're saying here is if you want to know what's legal for tournament play, it's classified kill teams, and they'll obviously probably list that online or whatever. So don't worry if your kill team's not available to use, in a tournament in the next couple of years or so. You'll still have rules for them for a good amount of time. That they will be, from what they're saying, updated as well. So
yeah, and the other thing they were saying is, although these classified teams are for like tournament play, and they're going to use like classified teams only for things like US Open and the World Championship. If you're running your own kill team tournament or organizing a big event, you don't have to specify that they're all have to be classified. You can run a narrative event, or you can just say all kill teams are allowed or whatever, because the rules will be updated and balanced. It's just that for official, like competitive or serious stuff that Games Workshop want to run, that's where it's going to be classified only. Or big events that are, independent but want to run it classified only, I suppose they could do, but I don't think they would. I think they'd probably allow all kill teams to get more people. But it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
It's interesting because obviously, like we've just seen with Age of Sigmar, that it looks like they're doing something similar. But then obviously, I'm glad that they've done this, because obviously a little while ago as well, we had all the Warcry stuff just suddenly disappear, and obviously that's what's led a lot of people towards thinking, okay, are we losing Warcry here because they've just completely gotten rid of most of the teams that are for sale. I mean, I can't remember if you said at the beginning of this side that we were saying, but they're saying that they're going to have kill teams in production actually available on the store for, I think they said a couple of editions.
A bit further,
did we say?
Tell you. So
here we go. So they'll be in range for 4 full seasons. So 4 full seasons is 3 to 4 years, basically.
I would say 3 to 4 years, yeah.
Yeah, which obviously the stuff that we've got on this classified list here, we've had that now for
and it says this
years.
is so we can maintain a manageable range in stock. But if you scroll down to the asterisk point at the bottom, it does actually say many of the units will live on in Warhammer 40,000. So your example there, Death Corps of Krieg and Commandos are only going to be classified for year 1. Just to pick 2 examples. For those of you who are listening, you won't be able to see the graphic on the screen. But Commandos, Death Corps of Krieg, Pathfinders, Chaos Legionaries, 4-boss strike team, Void Dancer troop, all those could be used in 40k, and Death Corps are getting their own army. So
the Crete Farstalkers, stuff like that,
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. There's a couple there. I mean, Galloppox infected Aleutian Star Striders, but Aleutian Star Striders are now in the Imperial Agents book. So they live on there. So there's nothing really there I can see that would go away
Completely
forever.
disappear. Yeah.
The only one would be the Blooded, maybe. That'd be interesting. The Corrupt Guardsmen. So where do they fold in?
The only difference you might have is that they might change the actual kits when it just goes into the normal 40k range. So you might have the more generic kit. Whereas like the kill team kits, you've got more options on the sprues. They may change it a little bit, I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see the first examples of that when it happens, I suppose. But like you've said, until you've just said that, to be fair, you look at that and you can't see any of that exiting the store permanently, can you really? So
no, I mean,
that's
like
kind of good to know.
The Pathfinder's kit, that was an existing kit with an upgrade sprue. The Phobos Strike Team, again, existing kit with an upgrade sprue. So they'll probably just rebox that kit in 40k and probably just either sell the upgrade sprue separately or just rebox the Phobos Strike Team, put the price up, and you've just got an extra sprue with loads of extra goodies. And again, for the Pathfinders, rebox the Pathfinders, the price goes up and you've got an extra sprue of gear.
Very true. And I think this gives you a good insight as to what they're going to do with the other games now as well, especially the smaller games, so stuff like Warcry. And I think the reason they got rid of pretty much everything for Warcraft the store is because, and we've touched on this before, I think they regret going a purely chaos theme with Warcry, because I think they've realised, I think they've realised with newer the newest edition of Warcry that obviously they're trying to go more mixed, aren't they? So you've had stuff like the Hunters for Anchi, which are the chameleon skinks for Seraphon. You've got, I'm trying to think of the other warbands they've done. The most recent ones, you've got like the weird Twistvold or whatever they're called for Sylvaneth.
Yeah.
I think they've that, like Kill Team, they're trying to mix it up in the different factions because I think they've realised that this is a great entry point for new updated kits. So like we've just had the Vespid Stingwings for Kill Team that can go straight into 40k. And now they've officially set it out.
Deathcore of Krieg, their entry into the 40k universe in plastic was via Kill Team, but now they're going to be getting a whole expanded range next year.
Exactly. And there's continued rumours, and it's important to say here as well, it does say part of the years 1 and 2 classified lists will be the new redacted stuff at this coming season that will be included. A lot of people are saying that they still think that we're going to get the individual Imperial factions, so like Catachan and stuff like that, are going to get added into this. Because they have changed one. There's a couple in here that they've changed the names of. So, for example, the Angels of Death, like that's not an actual known kill team. But is that just they're renaming one of the Space Marine kill teams or something? I don't know. But will be interesting to wait and see with obviously what new stuff we get.
One of the things I just wanted to go back to as well, when they were saying new teams will get the rules the same way. They'll be online straight away and you can download them. But they also said there might also be rules for future kill zones as well. So it could be that if a new kill zone comes out, like a terrain box or whatever, or a new season box, the rules might be online for that as well. So you could just buy the terrain and download the rules from the website rather than there being a book in the box like kill zone, whatever. So that'd be interesting to see how they do that.
It will be. I know they're starting to reveal all of the faction rules as well now for the old kill teams, I suppose, because they're saying, much like happened with Age of Sigmar recently, day one you're going to get your rules and whatever free, which is nice. I'm excited to see the crew.
I tried reading the Imperial one today and it just started melting my brain about halfway through.
Yeah. I was very similar because I haven't played any kill team in some time, but I'll definitely jump onto the new edition though and give, because I want to pick up, but I've got the Far Stalkers already, so I want to give those a go.
I keep getting tempted by that kit.
It's very nice. And I used to own them, but I've lost them somewhere. I can't find them. The Star Striders, the Rogue Traders, because I love the whole idea of Rogue Traders anyway. I'm thinking of getting some of those and converting them and actually like mixing them into more of like space opera type Rogue Trader teams. So maybe converting one of them into a crew or something, and like mix the races within the Rogue Trader team. I think that could be pretty cool.
Heresy.
Yeah, I know. I think it could be a pretty cool, like pirate-esque Rogue Trader team. Convert it a bit. Could be a cool project end of the year, maybe. To see what I've got time for that, I think.
Yeah.
With everything else going on. But the only other thing I was thinking, actually, in conjunction with this, obviously the only kind of, I suppose, I know we kind of call it Legends so for Warhammer 40,000, which is where once your kind of official rules go out of print, they still update the rules, but it's classified as Legends, so it's not, in terms of kill team, they're saying it's classified teams now are the official ones, but you'll still get rules updates for your Legends teams. Obviously, Warhammer 40k is currently now the only one that doesn't allow Legends stuff for tournaments, whereas most of the things do. So I wonder when they might possibly change that for Warhammer 40k as well. I don't know. I don't know if that's because maybe a lot of the legend stuff in Warhammer 40,000, there's probably a lot more of it to manage, so it's a bit
I
hard
was just
to
going to say
manage.
the range and scope would probably be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of the stuff in there is quite old now. Like for my crew, for example, like you've got the old Narlocks, they're still on the Legends rules. So I can kind of see why they do it. It'd be interesting to see though in the future if they do possibly change that, and if a lot of the games follow suit with what they're doing with Kill Team here.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that they're giving people a bit more forewarning and a bit more of a plan as to when your teams are going to go. Because let's be honest, when they did it with the Warcry stuff and they just cut it straight away without warning, that's not consumer friendly at all. That was very, very off-putting to a lot of people, I think. But hopefully this is the way forward now, and this their plan. We'll have to wait and see. But I think other than that, though, that is the majority of news from the last week that we wanted to really cover. We do have, though, end of show this week, we're going to go through each of our own top 5, and then I think we've got maybe a few like nods to that didn't make our top 5s for our top Warhammer video games ever, because obviously launch week for Space Marine 2, amazing new game for Warhammer and Warhammer fans, but we wanted to celebrate it and give our kind of top, if you like, ever games. So I've got your top 5 up first.
Yeah, so Space Hulk Deathwing for PS4, the enhanced edition. There was a launch of the game to begin with, but it didn't quite live up to everyone's expectation, and the devs had to do a little bit more work on it. It's an interesting read if you want to go back and have a look on that online. But yeah, it finally did come out, so you get to play as Dark Angel's Terminators boarding a Space Hulk. So it's like, if you ever played the original Space Hulk, which is, funnily enough, one we'll talk about shortly, this is like the modern version of that, but it's rather than it being like more of a tactical game like the original Space Hulk was, this was basically a first-person shooter. And you play as a Dark Angel's Terminator librarian. Fun game, really. Sort of real, if you ever wanted to be a Terminator stomping through a Space Hulk fighting Tyranids and Gene Stealers.
I did play a good amount of this game. I never completed it. I thought it was the most kind of realistic take on being in a suit of Space Marine armor. If that makes
I was just
sense.
going to say that, yeah, it did feel proper chunky as you were playing it. You like stomping along. You had the power sword or the force sword or the force axe like right in front of your vision. That was my only bugbear. It was this there all the time.
Yeah.
But you really could absolutely wreck face with the Terminators. And then there was further options down the line. You could change chapters and stuff like that. I didn't finish it myself. I must actually go back and do that. But yeah, I really did enjoy this game. And it sort of flew under the radar a little bit. I think a lot of 40k fans played it, but it wasn't really a massive game.
No, I mean, it didn't make my top 5, but I played through a good bit of it. Very cool game. And like I say, if you really want the like realistic Space Marine experience, especially as a Terminator, where it really is, you kind of like marching through the space, and it fits well because it's very linear, right, inside like the ship that you're in.
So, yeah, you're limited to a lot of corridors or big like open janitorium,
which is why it kind of fits the whole clunky kind of movement and whatnot. But from what I remember as well, it's you're quite limited with like your ammo and stuff like that. You have to be quite conservative. So
you've got to be. You can't just like Call of Duty your way through the Space Hulk because the Terminator it don't work like that.
Yeah, but very cool, very very cool. But I go on to your next one, and this is a classic.
Yeah, I mean, this was just absolutely brilliant. I remember seeing the intro with the Marines where that poor tower gets his head stomped on. And I had this on PS2 later than a lot of people, I must say. I went back to it and played it, but yeah,
I
it's
was
just
the
a
same
great
actually.
game, and I'd love to see this remastered with
Mm,
modern, like Necromunda hired gun, that sort of technology, and maybe not
yes,
speed
yeah,
because that game is stupidly fast. But yeah, I'd love to play as a fire warrior, or maybe
that would be cool.
um, a battle suit or something like that. A crisis battle suit. How good would that be?
That would be
But
awesome.
yeah, did you play this Fire Warrior?
Like you later,
Yeah.
which I'll be honest, and this was on my mentions list. I completed it as well, but it because it was quite a bit after. I think I actually went back to it in like PS3 era, which obviously by then the graphics and things had moved on, the way games handle, and when you go back to a game, it can be a bit of getting used to again. I pl- I played it round because I never had a PlayStation 2 growing up. But I remember playing some of it around a friend's house, and obviously back then, in the time and whatnot, and you'll show that with some of your other choices in a minute. If you were to go back and play some games now, you'd probably find them quite difficult to play through, I'd imagine. Not all games,
Oh
but
God, yeah.
quite a few. But
I've got.
at the
I mean, you can't
time,
really see
amazing
it,
game.
but I've got a Super Nintendo and a Mega Drive down there, and a N64 and a GameCube because I'd had a phase of collecting retro consoles during lockdown.
Yep.
And I've got Super Star Wars for the SNES. And I remember completing that when it first came out. So I would have been what, 11, 12 or something like that.
Mm,
I struggle to get off Tatooine now. It's
yeah, it's
rock
crazy, isn't it?
hard.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I remember completing it.
Mm,
And I've still, since I've had it again, I've still not made it past the Death
mm.
Star. I just can't do it.
It's mad, yeah. But no, great game. And like you, I always remember that intro sequence, being very very cool. And for its time, one of the best early kind of shooters for sure for what the Warhammer franchise, and
Such a cool
one
piece of
everybody will
artwork that
know.
you've got on the screen there as well.
I know, I know. And this is one of the guys that we had on Warhammer 20 Questions, wasn't it? One of the weeks. So
Yeah, I
is it
forgot his name now,
Shasai?
but yeah, it was.
Shasai, is it something like that?
I can't remember what
Um,
he's called.
but yeah, very cool. But we shall move on. Sadly, that's a
Mm.
bit of a small pick, but Sai.
Yeah, so if you were listening to the podcast last week, you'll know that when we played How Much, one of the things that I picked out was a box copy of Space Crusade. Now, the game actually came out on Amiga and I think it was Windows MS DOS, and I can't remember what other platforms. It might have been Amstrad or something like that. But it was awesome. It was obviously a turn-based tactical shoot. No, not even tactical shooter. It's just basically a digital version of the board game, but with some cool little animations and stuff. And you could choose to play as a Blood Angel, an Imperial Fist, or an Ultramarine. And when you roll the dice and stuff like that, it was a simple digital counter. But then when
Okay.
you fire, your Marine like gets down to one knee and fires his bolter, and there's a little animation. And if you kill someone, they sort of blow up and stuff like that. And there was like Chaos Dreadnoughts, there was
Oh well.
Orcs, there was all sorts. It was really cool. And
Sounds
you had to be
amazing for its
quite
time, to be honest.
pardon?
Sounds amazing for its time, to be quite
It
honest.
was, and you had to be
Yeah.
quite tactical with it as well. And I always remember the thing that sold me on it because I saw it at a friend's house. If you die, you end up with like this little animation screen at the end, and the one as the Imperial Fist, he's like lay face down with smoke coming out of his backpack, and you can see like the shadow of the Chaos Dreadnought in the background because he's just gunned him down. And then I think the Ultramarine one is slumped against a wall, like might have been the Blood Angel one. But depending on which chapter you pick, your death scene is different. So it's pretty cool.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned that because when I was searching for some pictures to throw up, some of the pictures I think that popped up with the death sequences, so people must have quite liked those, and that's why they popped them up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look online, you can probably play this online in an emulator. I
Yeah, I
remember
imagine
finding it
so.
a while ago, and you could probably play it. So I would urge you to give it a go if you're a fan of the old games. It really was a classic game.
Cool, cool. I know a lot of people for Warhammer video games say this is one of the first they remember. So,
The intro is pretty good as well with
nice
that guy
mention.
with the white power armor there. There was a little animated intro. It was quite good.
No, that's awesome. And then I think I put next as well, which is a bit hard for people to see. Sorry, guys, but because of their old games, like the images are also small. This is one that you touched on earlier, Si. Yeah, so this is the original
Yeah, the
Space Hulk.
original Space Hulk. So I had this one for Amiga as well. It didn't run well on my Amiga, to be perfectly honest. So I think I didn't play it as much as I could have. I remember you've got like different windows to watch and stuff like that. So you've got a main window and you've got your other windows for your other Terminators. And sometimes you just see like a brief flash of a Gene Stealer on the screen in the other window, and you hear like oh, and then he's dead. That's it. So it was all about like covering your corridors, covering the paths, and setting your Marines up on Overwatch, basically, and just trying to get through the
Very
mission.
Space Hulk.
Pardon?
I say very Space Hulk.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
It was difficult. I found it difficult anyway. Other people listening might think, "What's he on about?" It wasn't difficult. I found it difficult. Maybe it was because my Amiga was struggling to run it. I don't know.
Possibly, yeah.
But I enjoyed it. I loved the sort of half video cutscene at the beginning where you're getting a briefing and stuff like that. And it was just a chance to play a Deathwing Terminator, you know, like on the computer game rather than go into a Games Workshop store and play it on the board game. So, because there's no internet then, was there? You know, it was like this was your only fix other than your miniatures and your games. So
like
pretty cool.
Most older games are harder to play, like, which is why when we go back to them now, you don't realize like when everybody was younger, there were less options, right? So with older games, so you had what you had, and you had to keep going on levels over and over again to try and complete them, and that's what old games used to be.
Do you know what? I'm going to show my age now. I remember trying to get a hold of a copy of this, and like searching different shops. I ended up going into the Yellow Pages. Yes, the Yellow Pages book. And finding a computer shop in Bolton and ringing them up and saying, "Have you got a copy of Space Hulk for the Amiga?" It's like, "Yeah, I've got it." It was like the Hartley Hornby Railway thing on the advert, and I remember getting a lift there to go and pick it up.
That's cool. That's a cool memory. But I think we're possibly on your last pick, Si, which also crosses over with my first one, so that's why I put it last. Because this is our one crossover game between our top fives. So you can show us what we're looking at.
This is Space Marine, the original for PlayStation 3. So I can't remember when it came out. Was it 2010? Was it?
That sounds about right, if not a little earlier.
Might even be earlier than that. I can't remember. I know. But anyway, the first appearance of Captain Titus. So we haven't mentioned Space Marine 2, either of us, because we've not played it fully yet. But the original Space Marine, not only was its campaign against the Orcs and other factions later on really, really good, the multiplayer was superb as well. A lot of people bought this game, and for quite a while, the online multiplayer team was really good. You know, you're
That's why a lot of
finding
people
matches.
have been very excited for the new game to see what announcements they were going to make on the multiplayer, because it was so, like you say, I think more popular than they thought it was going to be.
This was a really, really good game, and there was tons of customization in multiplayer, not in terms of the level we've got with Space Marine 2 now, but there were quite a lot of different chapters you could pick. And it was really good. You could play different classes. You had the last cannon with the scope on it and stuff like that. I remember being really annoyed with jump pack wielding Meltagun Chaos Marines. That used to really annoy me. But yeah, no, a really, really good game. And it was like the first chance really to properly play as a Space Marine, wasn't it?
Yeah. And
stomping your way around levels and absolutely
first,
destroying orcs.
I think this was the first ever, and probably why it's very top of my list, really, or very close to the top, the first Warhammer game where you truly felt immersed in the world of Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, and you could unleash the power of a Space Marine.
Yeah. And the grim dark feel, the visceral like nature of the combat in this game set the tone then, I think, for a lot of others. We're going to touch on things like Vermintide and all that sort of stuff. Set the tone for how I think action games within the universe would play.
Yeah, I mean the jump pack dive and stuff like that near the beginning, and then the Valkyrie mission, you know, where you're on like the Valkyrie and it's getting swarmed by Storm Boys.
Storm Boys, and
that was probably one of my favorite bits, where you're on the heavy bolter turret and stuff.
Very cool.
Yeah, just a really, really good game. And then when you finally get the jump pack and you can do like the power slam and stuff like that, it was awesome.
And really, like you say, we're going to give a few honourable mentions after, but one of them, will, at least mine anyway, Space Marine 2, just purely, we haven't played enough of them yet, obviously, but we know that it's going to be a great game. We've seen a lot of it already. It wouldn't surprise me if in the near future, if we were to do one of these again, it would, I'm sure, be on our top 5 lists, if not in place of this. But certainly this was a huge step forward in terms of Warhammer video games. This was a very, very cool game in terms of that. So yeah, on my top 5 as well, Space Marine from the PlayStation 3 era, Xbox 360 era, I would say, is certainly on there for me. But then the second
you can't see
of
it,
mine,
but it's actually
go on to say
about there on the shelf. It's there, Space Marine.
Cool. You still got it up on there.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, awesome. But the first of my kind of individual choices, and it's kind of nice actually. Me and Si have got a nice blend actually between the two of us.
I nearly did mention this.
Yeah, because I've always liked a lot of like the strategy based games as well. And the very first, and it's hard for me not to say that this is actually probably my favourite Warhammer game ever, and that's the original Dawn of War collection.
Yeah.
Just real-time strategy games where you've got the base building and the real-time strategy tactical kind of above view, kind of top-down view, I should say, where you control pretty much any of the factions. I don't think the only one they didn't really do was Tyranids at the time, because the developers said that they couldn't actually with the software that was available at the time, they couldn't actually make Tyranids because they would just break the game and break people's computers. So but I believe a few years later, you can actually still download it now. Somebody did a patch and did a community patch and put Tyranids into the game, which was pretty cool. But the campaigns for each of the games, you had Dawn of War, then you had Soulstorm was the third one, Dark Crusade was the second one, I think. I think that's correct. But just fantastic games. I have always preferred like base building real-time strategy games, I think, where you then get to also fight with your armies kind of thing. Whereas I'll touch on another one in a moment, strategy game. I think that's why this kind of edged it for me. And at the time, just me and my mates on the LAN line, multiple computers in the same house, picked our own factions. We played this to the early hours of the morning.
Opening cinematic for the first Dawn of War with the Dreadnought and the banner. Oh, it's just awesome. Now, I almost picked this. I almost picked this, but I didn't have a PC, so I only ever played this at my friend's house. So
it was the same for me, but I mean, I played
couldn't
so
really
much of it.
It would be a bit dishonest because I didn't really play it, but I did like it.
That's fair enough. I mean, I still play this game every year. I still go back and play this game. Like it's holds up so well to the test of time. Still one of my favourite Warhammer games ever. So Dawn of War Master Collection, definitely up there for me. One that I was say again.
And plus, Blood Ravens are cool. I don't care what anyone says.
Yes, yeah. I won't spoil something with Blood Ravens, but there's something else that popped up with that. But Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is my third choice. So this is one that came out at the end of last year. It had a few bugs and issues when it first came out, so I only played a bit of it, and I wanted to leave it until they patched it up a bit. But for anybody who played Baldur's Gate last year, this was kind of a nice Warhammer version of that. Owl Games, I think, I can't remember their actual names.
Owlcat Studios, wasn't it?
Owlcat Studios, that's it, that's the one. They also did the Pathfinder games, very similar, but they have actually done it where you take control of a Rogue Trader team. You can obviously customize your own Rogue Trader who leads your own team, customize your whole team, go through a whole campaign, role playing if you like, top down, turn based, great story. Nothing else really that I can think of has come close to this with Warhammer yet. I'd love to see obviously a really high budget real-time RPG game along the lines of like your Mass Effect, stuff like that, Elder Scrolls, that sort of thing, but in the Warhammer universe. I think that'll top anything. But until we have that sort of thing, Rogue Trader, I've just started playing it again now in substitute for Space Marine 2 not working for me, but I'm really enjoying going back to that. I think they're releasing some expansions for it as well over the next year or two, so I look forward to playing more of it. But I definitely recommend Rogue Trader if none of you have checked it out yet. And I think it's quite a good price now as well. So do jump on board. But I think this is my second to last option, and this is definitely up there in top 2 or 3 for me as well. Total War Warhammer series. Obviously, there's 3 now, so we've got every pretty much faction, everything available for them. The Warhammer Fantasy is in the game now. Total War games I was never keen on, but obviously with Warhammer coming up in, I had to give them a go and just completely hooked. This is the conquest mode on this, where you have the full fantasy world map, and you literally are doing a campaign with the faction of your choice. Every time I make the choice to do one of those campaigns and with a new faction, I have to make sure I have weeks of time to be able to play it, because it will consume my life. So that's the best compliment I can give these games. So all of them as a collective, as a bundle, unbelievable graphics, exceptional. To be honest, you can even just play it as kind of like a Civilization type game, and not even go into the fights. You can just play it as like a world builder type game if you really want to in the campaigns. But the actual in-game battles and things are obviously exceptional. Probably the closest you can come as well to actually simulating a game of fantasy, I would say, within Engine. So like, obviously having like your rank and file sort of thing and literally just clashing head to head. Whereas a game like Dawn of War, you've got the base building as well. But you haven't played much of these, have you, Si, the Total War games? Have you tried them
No,
before?
I haven't played. No,
Have you not?
Well, I've only seen them being played, or I've watched playthroughs, like on YouTube. I've sat and watched people play it. I haven't actually played myself.
Yeah, but if you do, make sure you've got time to play them, because they can go on for a long
That's
time.
exactly why I haven't played.
Yeah. Like the world building side of it can really take up a lot of time and be very addictive. So I have to pick and choose when I play these games, but definitely up there for me. The last choice, I know this was on your mentions, I think, as well. So your honourable
My
mentions.
honourable mentions, yeah.
And that's Warhammer: The End Times Vermintide,
First
by
one.
Fat Shark, I think it is the studio that does these.
I think it was Fat Shark, yeah. 2014
Yeah.
it was, wasn't it? This one.
Yeah, and obviously there's been a second game as well, but I haven't played all of the second one, so I couldn't recommend
I've not
this over
played the
this.
second one. I only played the first one.
I think they're fairly similar anyway, so I mean, you could kind of suggest both, I suppose. But again, similar to like we said with Space Marine, really, but probably obviously the fantasy option. I'd say Space Marine over this for me, because I prefer the third person. But this kind of first person, literally hack and slashing away at endless swarms of Skaven,
Yeah,
is what this game is.
Randuba's Reich. I mean, it was really good. I mean, it was a bit daft because you had like muzzle loading pistols that you could just keep firing. It's like, hang on a minute, how are you reloading them? But you don't think about that at the time.
No,
because
it's the style of game, isn't it?
Pardon?
It's the style of game, I suppose, that they go for, innit?
And then obviously you play as a witch hunter. You've got the Empire soldier. You've got the wizard. Was it a fire mage? Was it? I think.
Yeah, was it a wood elf?
Wood elf, yeah, a wood elf, and there was a dwarf as well. But yeah,
I played as quite a few of them, I think.
I remember it being really dark all the time.
Yes, yeah, that's the only thing I would say. But graphically not quite as good as some of the other games that we've mentioned, but still pretty up there. The main reason I had this on my top 5 is because, and you may have not, to be fair, these games really go hard when you're with people co-op, and like the survival mode and stuff like that levels these games up significantly. Just hilarious fun. Just a great time when you're trying to hold out against endless swarms and stuff with your mates. It's all sorts of random stuff can happen. It's such a fun ride. Funnily enough, and I don't think either of us have mentioned it in our honourable mentions, the other recent game that they put out was the 40k version of this, in a way, which they did Darktide. I don't know if you played any of that.
No, I've not played Darktide. I've watched it being played, and when I saw how hordy it is, like the literal amounts of hordes that come at you, I was like, no, I can't be dealing with that. No, I can't play that solo. I'd need to find 2 people I know I can buddy up with and spend hours doing it. But I don't have anyone that I know who plays it. and I don't really have the time. Like
No,
before I had my son, I used to play like raids on Destiny till
endless.
2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, or doing strikes till God knows what time with my fire team. And then like life happens, you're like, oh shit, I can't do that
Yeah, no
anymore.
time.
I can't raid till 3 o'clock in the morning on Destiny, trying to kill Atheon
That's
for
the
the
trouble.
bloody
Yeah,
Vex Mythoclast. If anyone's ever played Destiny, you'll know my pain.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
that's
no,
the. I do want to play Darktide, but I don't want to play it solo or with
okay.
randomers. I
So I
need to
mean,
find 2 people I can be laughing my head off on the microphone with when you throw a frag grenade the wrong way or whatever, and just. So I know exactly where you're coming from with co-op.
yeah, no, for sure, it levels up these games big time. It's what they're designed for. But what I was going to say, so Darktide last year, I did give a go. I couldn't get to grips with it like I did with Vermintide. Obviously, like similar mechanics and everything, but if you're thinking about how dull and dingy the environments were in sometimes in Vermintide, it's triple, double, whatever you want to call it. That in Darktide, it's very
Yeah,
just not. I mean, I know stuff like Space Marine. Obviously, it's meant to be grim dark and whatnot, but they still make it interesting visually, right? But with Darktide, I just found myself like really glum all the time, and like you, I didn't really have anybody to specifically play co-op with for that, whereas I did for Vermintide, so that probably lowered my opinion of it a bit. And I
yeah, I would
found
imagine
that
so.
like
Yeah,
like in Vermintide, you kind of have the tavern that you go into to choose your quests and things, and it's very easy and you pick your character and whatnot. I found with Darktide, you're always on like this ship, and I found it way more complicated to figure out what the next part of the campaign you're going to play is and stuff like that. It was a bit confusing, I found, and it kind of put me off, and I never went back to it. But
yeah. See,
it's one that I do want to go back to though, to
yeah,
try
I'd
again.
like to go back to it, but I must admit, just like you said, from I was watching on YouTube before it got announced for Xbox. I was just watching Windows playthroughs. I remember thinking, "Bloody hell, it looks a bit complicated. I don't know if I can be bothered with this." So
Yeah,
that's what I remember thinking.
obviously for a game that's akin to Scaventide, and the gameplay when you get into the game is obviously quite
Well,
simple,
yeah, that's
like
it. And then I saw the
Scaventide.
gameplay, and I seen the veteran
Yeah.
guardsman with the last rifle. And I was like, "Oh, actually, now that looks good." And he's like
Mm.
just blasting hordes and throwing grenades. I thought, "Yeah, I can get into this." And then you got the Ogrin like charging and stuff. He does that charge move.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it
But
does
yeah,
look good.
in game, I quite enjoyed quite a lot of it. But like I say, compared to Vermintide, not quite there for me. But I know a lot of people did kind of enjoy it. So you'll have to let us know, guys, in the comments what you can either let us know your top fives or just some of your favorite games, or mention your favorite games that we haven't personally mentioned. I know we've got a few, maybe a couple more honourable mentions. I don't know if you can remember yours, Si. I've got them
Yeah,
up here as
so
well.
I've got a couple more honourable mentions. So one of them
Yeah,
was
yeah.
Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team. That was PlayStation 3, I think it was.
Yeah, I
Um,
had it on PSP, I think.
yeah, so you basically board an orc kill cruiser, don't you, or an orc
Yeah,
rock or whatever it is. Can't remember if it was a rock or a cruiser. And you
something
can
like
play as
that.
a tech marine. I can't remember what the other classes were now. I always played as a tech marine, but that was really good. You know, I was really surprised by it. I enjoyed that. And then Warhammer 40,000 Carnage was like a side-scrolling shooter on
I
iPad.
haven't played that one.
I remember going to Games Day, and it was at National Indoor Arena. It wasn't at the NEC. So I don't know, it'd have been maybe 2013, 2014, maybe, or something like
Oh yeah.
that. And they had demos. They had like loads of iPads set up, and you can have a game of it. And I got a flyer and downloaded that. Free Blade was good on iPad, playing as an Imperial Knight. That was
Free
quite good.
Nights. I played a little
And
bit of
then
that. Yeah.
the other one, apart from Dawn of War, there was Death Watch, Tyrannid Invasion on iOS. That was pretty
I
good.
didn't play that one, no.
That
Was
got
that
quite
like
addictive.
what type of game was that?
So that was like a tactical game again, where you're playing as a Death Watch kill
Like
team,
top down view kind of thing.
kind of like isolinear sort of
Yeah.
angle, if you know what I mean. That was pretty decent. And my other honourable mention would be Necromunda Hired Gun, purely for the fact that you could go and explore sort of parts of the Underhive and go to like the market and buy bionic upgrades and upgrade yourself and stuff like that. My only bugbear with Hired Gun is it was just so fast. You think Titanfall 2 is fast when you're wall running and jumping.
Oh
Hired Gun
really?
like was something else. But yeah,
Right.
it's pretty good.
I always wondered about that game because I always liked the look of it. It didn't get the best reviews, but like I always thought I still liked the look of it. It's one that, you know,
It is fun, and if you're a Necromunda fan, it's cool to actually look around these
yeah,
environments
be
that you see,
immersed in
like
the
the
world kind of thing.
manufactorums, the forges, the markets, the underhive. It's decent. I got it when it was like £6 in a sale
Yeah,
on the PlayStation Store. I think it was like £5.99. I was like, yeah, I'm having that. So
I
it's
might grab it on the
less than the price of a meal at McDonald's.
I might grab it on the Steam sale or something, summer sale or
Yeah,
something next year when it comes around, or Christmas one. But yeah.
and
Um,
if you choose a female player as well, she's got a right Yorkshire accent. It's funny. She's like, yo, I'm gonna kill yo.
is it the same one where you get the mech hound with the your main guy? So like
You've
the
got Doggo with you,
mechanized
yeah.
hound. Yeah, yeah, that look cool. Yeah, always look quite cool. But
Do you mean the Cyber Mastiff?
yes, that's what I was trying to think of. The
Yeah.
actual name. It looked cool. There's only a couple we probably haven't mentioned that I just not in my top games really, but ones that I played that I thought were worth mentioning that were still good games. Warhammer Chaos Bane,
Oh yeah.
like a Warhammer Fantasy based one, so it's like top down action based game. So it's not turn based; it is real time. But you can choose between again a few different characters. I think the one playthrough I did was as the Dwarf Slayer, which was good fun. He was great, just like a dwarf berserker. You're just like literally spinning on the spot with your axe most of the time, and like he's got fire sort of powers and things. And it's one of those where you are just mashing through hordes of things. And they did a few cool DLCs as well. The boss battles in it were really, really good fun. Like you face some really big like greater demons and things like that. They were awesome fun. Just like your own like little dwarf slayer dude just taking on like massive demons. It's great fun. And they did a couple of DLCs. One of them was like Tomb King based, which I remember being quite good fun. You can literally get some of these games we're talking about, guys, for like a couple of quid on computer now from like Steam store and stuff like that, if you really wanted to. So if you like the sound of any of them, go and check them out. The only other one that I played very recently that I haven't gone back onto, so I didn't want to give it too much of a mention, is Speed Freaks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was wondering when you was going to mention that.
yeah. Because when I tried it obviously when it first got the beta put out, and it's now out properly, I believe. There isn't much to the game because as far as I'm aware, there's still only 2 game modes. But I do really want to go back on. It's not my
From an
usual
art
kind of game.
perspective,
So
is there anything else needed apart from speed and guns?
yeah. So you're literally looking at like Gorka Morka, but in a video game, effectively. And you can either do the destruction one, which is where you've got the 2 big orc mechs coming towards each other, and if you're on each team, you pick your own vehicle, try and stop the opposite orc mech. And then the only other mode they have out at the moment, which I want to go back on and try, so I will be doing that soon, is an actual like proper Gorka Morka race with the from start to finish with the vehicle. So I'm looking forward to going back on and trying that for sure. But from what I played of it, top notch. It completely shocks me.
What happened to Death Squadron, the flyer one?
Because what I did
it
before
come
we came
out?
onto this, I searched it all to see what was going on, and I don't know with that game. I don't know
I don't know
if
if it
it came
ever
out or not.
came out or not. I can't remember. It
I
always looked
assume it did,
interesting, but
yeah.
yeah, we'll have
That's
to look
another
at
one.
that for a future episode.
I know we've done it in the past, haven't we? We've done our own Warhammer video games we'd like to see made. So if you guys want to check that out, by the way, I'll link that. I'll try and remember to link it at the end of the video here. But I can't remember. I think one of us did mention. I think I might have mentioned like having a Tony Hawk style Warhammer game. So you have like what's the Aeronautica type video game would be pretty cool. I know we've had like Space Hulk tactical game, haven't we, in the past as well? But yeah, I've never played that, so I couldn't say. But yeah, we are blessed, to be honest, with how many awesome Warhammer games we've had, and I think it's only going up, you know, with what we're getting and the quality as well. And we look forward to playing more of Space Marine 2 because it just looks unreal. So
yeah, just while Ben's not here, I'll throw in a mention for Ben as well. Shooters, Guns and Teeth.
Yes, that's a good.
Because
point.
if he was here, I'm sure he would have mentioned that because I know he's very fond of that game. So
he is, yeah.
Shout out for that one for Ben.
Yeah, I think he had it on like his
He's got it on
Switch or
Nintendo
something
Switch,
like that, has it? Yeah. And he was playing that. It's one that I've liked the look of. To be fair, it looks like a good fun short game to play through. It does look good fun.
Yeah.
Like an orc side scroller, kind of like comic style.
It's
Game,
funny.
It does look good fun. I'll have to get onto that one as well. But there's too many games to play and too much hobbying in the Warhammer world for us to play all these. That's the trouble. But
Buy
we
an old
thought with
Amiga
me
and
and
get
Sion
Space
this
Crusade.
week. Yes, get Space Crusade on Amiga, yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, me and Si thought with it just being us this week, we'd maximise the video game talk because we know that Ben doesn't have as much experience with these different video games and things with Warhammer. So it was a perfect time to do it this week. But we hope you guys enjoyed getting involved with the chat as well. And like I say, please do get in the comments. Me and Si, I'm sure, and Ben, I'm as well. Would love to see what your favourites are. But yeah, I think we will end it there though, Si. That's pretty good really for the two of us this week. Thanks for joining me, buddy. Where can everybody find you and what are you up to on your own channel?
Yeah, so you can find me in the usual place on YouTube as Hobby Waffle, or if you just search for Hobby Waffle, you should find me. And then also on Instagram and Twitter as @Hobby Waffle. And I've also got a Facebook page as well, which I always forget to mention every week, even though I keep saying it. I must post some more stuff on Facebook as well. I'm going to be doing an unboxing on the new Spire Hunters, talking about the sprues because you don't get all of the options on the sprues, which is a bit of a bummer. But I'll cover that in the video. And then I might do a video on Space Marine 2 after I've played it a little bit more. And then hopefully soon, Wave 3 paints from Two Thin Coats. So that should be next up on the channel.
Yeah, we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts on those when they arrive. And obviously continued thoughts on Space Marine 2 as we play more of that. Hopefully, like I say, guys, I'll get a chance to play it myself soon. But otherwise, you can jump on the likes of the X, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram for me as well. wargamingluke over there. Follow me. And one thing, because I didn't mention at the beginning, actually, sadly, our Discord channel. Constant, lovely folks over there.
Oh yeah,
Discord
come to Discord. We've got cookies.
We've got cookies, yeah. So yeah, join us over there for the weekly in-between episodes chat. We all like to share our hobby thoughts, and there's lots of nice folks over there that get involved in the community. You can find the links for all that, guys, in the description below the video. But until next time, guys, from me and Si, happy wargaming. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.